Fishy sauce. Far sooner than we intended, I met your mother. We were at the traffic lights across your red brick apartment block in Marrickville. I leaned my head on your delicate shoulder in the quiet hum of the evening. We were still at the early stages of getting to know each other then, hearts fluttering at the pre-dating stage of rose hue. "That's my mum," you said with a strained voice. I shot upright. Your mother was not wearing glasses. My voice cracked. "Do you think she saw?" Muttering shakily, you explained, "My mum has better eyesight than me. She got laser eye surgery recently." We crossed the road to greet her whilst I giggled nervously. Of course she got laser. At your mother's hip was a red trolley bag brimming with groceries in blue plastic bags, scallions peeking out the corner. It was a familiar sight. She'd blend in perfectly in Cabramatta. "Gong jiao go," I whispered sheepishly as I bowed. Your mum nodded and proceeded to speak to you about plans for dinner that night. I was only half listening, partly because I was not yet accustomed to your northern Vietnamese accent. As we walked towards your home, I took the trolley handle you had instinctively retrieved from your mother's hands. Running nimble and withered fingers through her dark brown dyed perm, your mother invited me for dinner. We took off our shoes at your door and you offered me bright pink plastic house slippers. Your place was cozy, especially with all the mother-daughter photos that hung on the walls. You told me your mother really liked wood, evident by the cedar shelves, cabinets, coffee table, TV stand, and floorboards that filled the living room. Against the wall, in the center of the room, was a deep mahogany floor-to-ceiling Buddhist altar. Plates of mangoes, vases of fresh yellow chrysanthemums, and fluorescent red lights backgrounding the statues. A photo of your grandmother was at the center of the altar, the late strong-willed matriarch that continues to watch over you and your mother. You explained that the altar was your mother's pride and joy. She loved that it could be seen through your balcony from the street. I told your mother I had the exact same altar at home. The tearaway lunar calendar hanging near the kitchen marked today as an auspicious lucky day. By my side, you were shifting from foot to foot in our matching pink house slippers. I gathered you were thinking what I was thinking, that despite our pre-dating status, I was already meeting your mother. Lucky then how we turned out. I sat on your living room rocking chair, trying not to creak, hands on knees, feet flat, back straight. This space felt familiar but also different. It had been a while since I had to try to impress a Vietnamese auntie. I felt your mother's pencil-sharp eyes linger on my hair. I automatically scratched the back of my head. The tapered sides pricked my ears. When you and your mother began cooking in the kitchen, I heard how she routinely tutted and talked over you about how things are supposed to be done. My contribution to dinner was carrying the steaming bowls of bun can guo to the table. I slurped up the sticky and thick crab broth topped with soft yet chewy tapioca noodles. The crunch of the fresh scallions punctuated each soupy spoonful. I knew the noodles were good the moment I took my glasses off. Your mother was pleased when I asked for seconds. I could tell from her slight smirk and nod and the way your eyes softened. Your mother was very proud to tell us that her hometown, Ha Long Bay, was known for the abundance of fresh seafood and fish sauce. Nếu không có nước mắm là không được. If there is no fish sauce, it will simply not do. She asked me all the typical questions you'd expect in the first meeting with a Vietnamese mother. Age, suburb, work, family, my parents' hometown and their work. I responded with polite and palatable answers. She pulled up both our grammar and pronunciations. She even corrected that I should refer to her as back since she was older than my parents. I could feel my own mouth twitching in attempts to hold back laughter. Her feisty tone reminded me so much of your own. I stopped smiling when, alone together, she asked for the exact figure of my income. You had gone to the bathroom. I stuttered and stumbled whilst she remained perfectly still. Of course, my social worker salary made no impression on the mother of a corporate lawyer. You later told me in a hushed tone, that's the first time my mum was able to ask questions to my friend directly herself. as opposed to interrogating me after they've left, but she's never asked for anyone's salary before. A year later, I suggested we travel with your mother. We were well and truly in a relationship at that point. Lucky us. I was such a regular at your place that I could comfortably wash the dishes after a meal without being shooed away by your mother. She stopped insisting that I was a guest. Your mother was thrilled by the suggestion. In the weeks leading up to the trip, she must have watched every single YouTube video of Darwin ever uploaded. All she ever spoke of was barra fishing, mud crabbing, and the raging waterfalls of the top end during wet season with its tropical monsoons so like her hometown. She made known her dismay that the Northern Territory had the world's largest crocodile population and that we must never be near any water's edge. Ga sao cham nuk mam jak ja tan ga ngong. Crocodiles, which is literally translated as fish ugly, dipped in fish sauce surely becomes fish delicious. We laughed. When we got to our 4-star Hilton hotel room, your mother discovered that her fish sauce container had exploded in her luggage. Shuffling in her new hotel slippers on the plush red carpet, she hurriedly ripped her luggage open and scattered its contents on the bed. Old school curlers, matching tracksuits, and floral silk scarves were sprawled on the top end of the bed to be aired out overnight. Expensive hotel dry cleaning was absolutely not an option. That night, your mother slept on half of her bed, her face covered in a rose-colored eye mask. We fell asleep holding hands under the covers. We were on the second queen bed, which was left unburdened by fish sauce-soaked fabric. We intentionally laid further apart from each other to seem inconspicuous. In the middle of the night, your mother frantically shook my shoulders. Jenny, Jenny! With wide eyes, she stared at me. Sweat beaded on her lip. With a groggy head and racing heart, I blurted out, "It's not what it looks like, Auntie." Even in my surprised state, I knew the lights were on, and I knew that she knew that I was hugging you. My arms had been draped across your chest, our cheeks were pressed against one another, lips almost touching. My gut twisted as it became more awake. Your mother demanded in a harsh whisper, "Out, out, out." I dragged myself away from your delicate shoulders, wordlessly obliging. I knew you well enough to know that you were only pretending to sleep through the entire ordeal, discerning a plausible explanation to dismiss our closeness. As I carefully settled into the fishy bed, your mother launched rapidly into the extent of her nightmare. A shadowy female figure had been pushing down on her chest and jumping on her neck. She had a premonition that the figure was involved in the 1983 Pine Gap protests of Alex Springs and had died in this hotel. Your mother had seen the unwavering figure come out of the closet. Eventually she yawned and remarked that the Gong Maui was less likely to affect me because I was strong and healthy. Later that night, you slid into my embrace in the fish sauce-free half of the bed. You whispered that this was the safest you had felt, and perhaps you didn't need to come out to your mother anymore. Rather than the hurt of her purposely forgetting your confessions again and again, perhaps she cares for you, for us, in the only way she knows how. Perhaps your grandmother was watching over us and keeping the bad spirits away. Here, we held hands, the ghosts of the closet at rest for now.